Hey guys, Movie Junkie for Life here again, and this is going to be my review of Pendulum. And for those who are lost as to what Pendulum is actually a locally produced film. It was produced by the UWI Film Institute, or the UWI Film Program. It's directed by Michael Rockford and stars Jovan Brown, Stephen Hadid Jr., and Anoka Baptiste, just to name a few. So let's get into it. Pendulum tells the story of an ex-Marine turned journalist who is hired by his best friend Luther, played by Stephen Hadid Jr., to investigate who is coming after him. Somebody's trying to sabotage him in his business. They're making it look like he's trying to embezzle from his own company, that sort of thing. And during the investigation, Ryan seemingly commits a murder. See, this why I say seemingly is Ryan, played by Jovan Brown, is suffering with PTSD. So we don't know what is reality and what is perception, and especially with Ryan suffering the way he is. So let's get into it. Start with what I liked about this movie, and big props on the visuals of this film. For such a small budget, they managed to pull off a very unique look for this film, in the sense that if you live in Trinidad and Tobago, while some of these locations will seem very familiar, the use of the country, I should say, the use of the different cities and locations were very uniquely put together in a way that made it seem like a completely different place. You know, as much as I am Trinidadian, I'm not 100% familiar with my entire country. So some of these locations, it really felt like I had stepped into a different city, a different world. And I like that because you get more sucked into what you're seeing, you know, especially when you're not there trying to point out, hey, I know that place, I know that place. Everything seems more genuine. And so they did a lot of great camera work here, guys. I really love that. Speaking of small budgets too, they made very good use of limited locations. This is something that I always get a kick out. It's always great to see a filmmaker take what is essentially maybe 2-3 locations and make them seem, you know, what should I say, like more. It seems like if you've been visiting a lot more places than just a few locations that you're seeing, and they do that really well here. The acting is also something that I enjoyed, especially Stephen Hadid Jr. and Anoka Baptiste. I felt like Miss Baptiste stole every scene she was in. She was fabulous. She had a couple one-liners that I really liked, and she definitely was the focus in every scene you're in. You would tend to be drawn to what she was doing. Stephen Hadid Jr. as well, his delivery was very natural and his characters were likable. I am just going to leave it at that. I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but he was very likable in his role, and I enjoyed most of the side players in this. I think everybody put their best foot well, best foot forward, and you could see it in their roles. The fight sequences too, I was pretty amazed at how well it was choreographed. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. There's especially a scene in an abandoned house that I thought they did a really good job. It's a little Jason Bourne-esque, and I dug that. I could tell there was a lot of work put into that scene, and I love that. Let me get into now the story also is something that, while it's not something I haven't seen before, I will say this: there's a level of tension and mystery to this story that keeps you engaged from beginning to end. Because when certain events go down with Ryan and a murder that's committed, you really aren't sure, because there's a reveal and you aren't sure if what you're seeing is real or if it's in his head. And Jovan Brown, he does his best with this role. He really does deliver when it comes to showing someone who is suffering from panic attacks and PTSD, and that level of confusion and craziness that is probably going through your mind as to what it is happening. He's trying to hold on to who he is, you know, while helping his friend and find his way through this this trauma that he's gone through. Now, with all that said, there were some issues that I did have with this movie. One of those being there was some editing and pacing issues. There's some scenes would be cut kind of abruptly, and it was a bit jarring. It would pull me out for a second. I also felt that while Jovan Brown did a great job as Ryan, I think his overall look, he's very young, and that worked against him a little bit for me personally, because he's supposed to be this ex-Marine, this kind of war-hardened person. He's been through a lot, but he's so young that I find it a little difficult to believe his backstory. And speaking of his backstory, I really wish they had delved a little deeper into his trauma, into what brought him to where he was. They do show us him going through issues with his PTSD, but it's just done in maybe like a couple scenes. There's also a scene with him seeing a psychiatrist that they show you something. I don't want to get into spoiler territory. They show you him in his therapy session going through some hypnosis, let's say, but they never really tell you what was the point of that scene. So I get that maybe they're trying to figure out if maybe this person is involved in what's happening with Ryan, but I just felt like they would give us those type of moments and then just not revisit them again, and that was to the detriment of Ryan's character. I would have really liked to see more backstory on him, on his relationship with Luther and that sort of thing. There's also this character called Harold in this movie, and I'm still trying to figure out what the hell accent Harold was trying to pull off, because I think it's supposed to be a Cockney British accent, like a British person has relocated to Trinidad and he's trying to assimilate our dialect, and it is funny at times. It's genuinely funny, but for the most, I couldn't understand half of what Harold was saying. So it was just ridiculous. It was more ridiculous than it was funny. But the actor was likable, and the character of Harold is quite likable in the show. So I would have liked to see more of Harold's backstory as well, but I know he's not the focus, so I get it. Overall though, guys, Pendulum was an enjoyable film. I liked it. It's your typical action fare, but it does have a level of tension generated by Jovan Brown's Ryan and the mystery in this story that resonates all through this film, and the ending is quite satisfying because of that. I did find myself wanting to know where this was leading, and that's always a good thing with a thriller, because you want that level of suspense and tension to hold your interest until the end of the movie, and in that case Pendulum definitely delivers. So guys, I'm gonna give Pendulum a 5 out of 10. I enjoyed this movie. The story is definitely the strength of the movie, as the director manages to infuse this film with a level of tension that's there from the beginning, middle, and end. The ending is quite satisfying, at least for me it was. And you can tell everybody involved really did give their best. So while I think Jovan Brown's youthful appearance may have worked against him, and he did find some difficulty at first connecting with the character of Ryan, he delivers in the end, and overall Pendulum is a fun flick. It's showing right now, at least I saw it at UWI Film Institute, or Film Building. I will put a link to the Pendulum page right there, and for a really in-depth review written by Matthew Bailey, you can also check out this link right there. So that's it for me, guys. Pendulum gets a 5 out of 10. And until next time, bye bye.